Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I am Anna and I'm a little bit spooky, and today we are having some coffee, doing some makeup, and talking about our aesthetic. We are doing my aesthetic tag, I think that's what it's called, or just the aesthetic tag. The makeup aesthetic tag created by Elle S here on YouTube. I love her channel, by the way. She does really cool videos and like investigative videos and looks at like new patterns and stuff. It's really cool, and I thought this was such a creative tag, and I liked the questions, and I thought it was really interesting and a fun way to get to know one another. So I'll have the questions below if you want to go answer them in the comments or in a video yourself so I can learn a little bit more about you, and I think that would be awesome. Yeah, and don't forget to check out Elle S. I will have her linked in the eye in the corner and linked below. So yeah, today that's what we're doing. We're going to drink some coffee, we're going to hang out, chit chat, answer some questions. Dear God, if I say chit chat one more time, I'm going to punch myself in the face. We just talk about my style influences in this one and why I am the way that I am. Blame late 80s goth culture and watching Interview the Vampire in Westerns too many times. That just kind of explains everything here, basically. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into this video. But before you do, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know some answers to these questions in those comments. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram because I'm trying to grow that platform. I will have it linked below as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this makeup look and talking about our aesthetics. Alright, welcome back. Today we are doing the aesthetic tag and having a cup of coffee here. This is a sugar-free mocha breve from CC's Coffee, which is just a coffee shop right down the road from my house. It's kind of a small chain. It's owned by Community Coffee. Anyway, so for the aesthetic tag, I decided to do kind of a get ready with me style with this. So we're going to do a little makeup and answer some questions. But for the palettes I'm going to use today, I decided to bounce into two that I feel like really kind of suit my aesthetic. Basically with their aesthetic. And we're going to create a look that is a go-to look type of vibe for me. So for palettes, we're going to reach for the Urban Decay Wild West palette because I like a little bit of Western vibes in my style. And we're also going to jump into the Rebel Rouge Labs Suspended in Dusk palette because also my kind of vibe. This is a Typo Negative themed palette, which is a kind of goth rock band from the 90s that I am in love with. I saw a meme the other day that just described my aesthetic to a T, and it was yeehaw goth. That's me, yeehaw goth. I like to go for that kind of 80s Western goth scene vibe with my personal aesthetic, like as far as way of dress and jewelry and all that. So, you know, it kind of bleeds over into makeup a little bit, and I also like to do cyberpunk looks. So it's a little bit of a mix bag with me, but this is kind of my staple uniform looks I go to the most often, kind of style that I stick with the most. So yeehaw goth, here we go. The Wild West palette, and we're going to jump into the shade Standoff first for our brow bone shade and kind of get things started here. This is going to be a kind of a brow bone highlight. And I'm going to pop up some pictures of just a general style vibes I like on a whole, just on the screen, just so you get a better idea of what I mean all around. But this tag is predominantly about makeup, not necessarily my fashion and all over style. But I do try to make those things cohesive with one another. Alright, so let's go ahead and just get into that first question too. How would you describe your personal aesthetic or style when it comes to makeup? Soft gothic glam, or soft grunge glam, depending on my mood that day. It's somewhere between the two of gothic and grunge. And it's usually kind of soft and not too over the top or dramatic by comparison to other, I think, creators in the goth scene. They tend to go a little bit more in, a little more avant-garde, a little more basic, I guess you could say. Hence the soft glam part of that descriptor. But yeah, that is definitely my style right there, soft gothic glam. I have a trouble with get ready with me's, where I want to talk about the products I'm using and make it a tutorial, even though it's not a tutorial, it's just talking about a subject and not the makeup. So I will have things on the screen. If I don't mention it, it'll just pop up on the side there of what I'm using, and it'll all be listed down below in the description box. Next question is, who or what has influenced your stylistic choices? Makeup wise, not that many people I think really influence my stylistic choices too much. I kind of just do what I want to do. I'm taking Spur and starting the transition. But some creators I do take some inspiration from would definitely be Linda Hallberg. Back when I first got into makeup, she was like the end all be all to me. You know, she was one of the first influencers you would see all over, or makeup artists you would see rather, all over Pinterest. And I would pin so many of her looks. And I would say Jamie Genevieve does influence me a little bit there, stylistically with makeup and fashion. I just really like her vibe. Katie Eve, her style I love so much. She is definitely also like a soft gothic glam kind of gal. She's a little editorial with it, and it's so beautiful. She just has the most beautiful style. She has a YouTube channel as well, and she's so sweet. I think she's a lovely girl. She also has a nail company. She does press-ons, which are gorgeous. But I really like her style a lot. I think a lot of times it's more of a subconscious influence from people that I'm not like looking at something thinking I want to do just that and look just like that. It's more of like I take a little element here and there and be like, yeah, I could incorporate that into my look and kind of do it my own way. But I tend to gravitate towards people that I have a lot in common with to begin with as far as style choices go. Like, it's things I'm already drawn to, so I'm not, you know, just going like, oh, I'm going to copy them. It's more just, oh, I like the way they incorporated this into their look. And, you know, it's something I may already own and just is showing a different way of pairing it or whatever. And maybe like a different eyeshadow placement that I hadn't thought of. So I think those would be some influences there as far as makeup goes. Next question is, what are some of your previous makeup phases? And we'll jump over to Ghost Town. Previous makeup phases. I definitely went through a phase where I actually didn't do a whole lot of makeup there for a bit. In my early 20s, I think after my mom died, I just kind of got where I wasn't into doing makeup much or anything. It was just a very odd time in my life. Like I was really adventurous like fashion wise, but I just wasn't very into makeup. Like I would do makeup, but I was very minimal with it. Like I was just kind of a mascara, brows, and occasionally some eyeshadow if I had time, but it just wasn't, I don't know. This was, you know, pre-YouTube days then too. So I had definitely a little bit more of a minimal phase at one point. I went through more of a cyberpunk phase a couple of years ago where I did lots of purples and very metallic full-on eye looks that were a little bit more futuristic looking in my opinion. And yeah, that was definitely a phase that I loved and still love that look. I kind of did something like that the other day a little bit, and every now and then I do like to play with that style still. I'm just not very good at it because I feel like a lot of those looks kind of, you want a bit more of a graphic liner look or something, and I'm just terrible at graphic liner on myself. I had like kind of a Susie and the Banshees makeup phase for sure, like when I was in high school, very Death from Sandman comics look, the big onk and the brows that were, yeah, I'll put pictures of who I'm talking about here with my inspiration there. That was definitely a vibe I had for quite a while. I had very big spiked up black hair, big spiky black hair, teased, big brows that went, like I shaved off my brows, drew them on. They were like, you know, crazy big. Well, skinny, but dramatic. Black lipstick, of course. Very pale foundation that was too light for me, like using a pure white foundation. I did that. Gray contour, you know, very vampire 80s goth vibes for sure. I was into that. Now I think I'm still kind of like in that 80s goth, but it's more of it's a different way of doing it. It's a very modern take on it that I think I have now. And I had a bit of a punk phase as well, where I was really into the Stillers and Birdie Dell, and I wanted to look like her and do my makeup like her, very grungy, just smoky, messy eyeshadow where it was just not perfect and just kind of slapped on. That was definitely a vibe I had too, and that was intermingled with the Susie and the Banshees vibe, kind of back and forth, you know, depending on my mood that day and what I was wearing. I was very into makeup. When I was in high school, I would get up at 5 a.m. so I'd have time to put my brows on and my makeup before school. I was extra. I mean, I wore 5-inch platforms, kind of like the new rock looking boots and stuff to school, and chains and everything else, but we had to wear school uniforms. So it was quite a look I had going. Very accessorized. Lots of accessories and lots of makeup. Question number 4 is, what combination of existing brands would make up your own perfect brand? I had to kind of think about this one a little bit the other day. I had a little think on it, and I would say Pat McGrath, stylistically, a little bit of Tom Ford for that minimal glam look that they have, that the packaging has, and maybe a hint of Melt Cosmetics in there for the more adventurous, edgy side. But I really think like the Royal Blush collection, the one that had the bees and honeycomb and the black and gold, kind of that mixed with a little bit of a Pat McGrath luxury vibe, and like with those heavy compacts and everything. That would be probably my ideal brand right there. Just particularly the Royal Blush collection mixed with Pat McGrath and a hint of Tom Ford thrown in. I would probably incorporate a lot of snakes and bees in, because snakes and bees are my favorite things. Next question is, name 5 products that define your makeup style right now. That to me is a little bit of a tricky question. Like, I don't know how to answer that exactly. 5 makeup products that define my style right now. Definitely the Benefit 24-hour brow setter, that defines my style, because I like very kind of lemonade looking brows, very bushy and standing straight up, glued to my face apparently. That definitely is a style right now for me. And the Lift and Snatch brow tint pen to draw on some individual hairs. I'm really into that at the moment. I'm always obsessed with brows. I've been obsessed with brows since I was in junior high, since I accidentally plucked them all off and had to learn how to draw them back on. And yeah, I've got a lot of practice with that. But now I'm just really into naturally groomed brows and very bushy and bold. I love a bold brow. It's just kind of my style. The Vive palette from Jamie Genevieve, from definitely the Vive Essential Eyeshadow Palette defines my style at this moment. I would say the Jason Wu Hot Fluff Lipsticks in Cannoli and Eclair. And so one more, the L'Oreal Age Perfect Serum Foundation. A little bit something light coverage and dewy. I'm definitely on a more monochromatic, minimal vibe these days with makeup. Like as maximalist as you can get while doing minimal makeup. Like I really like kind of easy monochromatic makeup with a really blushy cheek and very peachy and warm. I love that with some big lash, you know, some very voluminous lashes going on. That's definitely a vibe right now. Okay, let's bounce over to the Rebel Rouge Labs Suspended in Dusk palette and bring in some gothy vibes here. From this palette, I think I'm going to jump into October Rust right here in the corner. This is a really orangey shade, and I'm going to take that kind of lightly right here just to bring in a little bit more warmth and orange. A little bit, it's quite pigmented on my little E25. Start building that right in here within the 2 browns from Urban Decay, just to warm it up even more. It's truly like a rust color, hence the name October Rust, which is my favorite type of negative album, by the way. It's a fantastic album. Let's go ahead and jump into that next question. Number 6, what kind of style or aesthetic do you wish you could pull off? The Glossier minimal type of look. Those Glossier vibes, you know, with like hardly anything, but it still looks beautiful. That model off-duty type of thing. It's just not a look I feel comfortable pulling off, maybe, or that I mean anybody can pull it off a look. It's just not one I think looks the best on me. Like I want a little more coverage. I like a little more makeup, but I wish that I could have that, just that flawlessness without the product type of thing. Like there's just not quite enough there for me within the Glossier vibe. Though I'm attempting it. I've been trying and playing lately, delving into that type of style and seeing if I can kind of make it work for me. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Also, another style like I wish I could really get into or could pull off is graphic liner. Like really graphic, detailed liner. I am awful at doing that on myself. I have very asymmetrical, very crooked eyes and very hooded eyes, and that wing liner is enough of a challenge on me. It's real hard to do anything kind of graphic and make it look even and the same on both eyes. Like I can achieve it on one eye, but doing it on the other, it's just not gonna happen. Believe me, I've tried a lot. Question number 7 is, what style are you over? Rainbow cut creases. I'm kind of over those. Like, I mean, like as in like just these really strong, heavy cut creases that are just, and everything's super carved out with the brow and all of it, and it's just so perfected and it almost looks photoshopped. I'm over that style, which I think a lot of it might be photoshopped and face-tuned that you see on Instagram. So I think yeah, I'm over that. I'm gonna take the shade Pyretta from the Suspended in Dusk palette now. It is a beautiful red metallic, kind of a dark red metallic shade. I'm gonna pop it right out here on the outer part of the lid. I'm also really tired of super heavy cakey foundation looks. and all those videos that used to be on Instagram, they're still floating around on there of people just painting makeup on with like a paintbrush, and it's so thick and heavy and cakey, and the foundations never match. Like they're just using these really off shades for the person they're doing the makeup on. Muddy looking bronzer piled on top that they're using to like contour the face out. I'm tired of that look. The Neapolitan highlight face look where it's like brown, pink, pinky peach, and then white highlight, definitely over that. And don't get me wrong, I still love a blinding highlight. I'm just tired of that placement. It feels really dated now. Really dated now. Carved out, chunky, squared off brows, definitely. I think it's nice seeing people break from the mold these days with their makeup and do whatever they want to do and embrace their features and their own natural brows and do what they want to do and not try to shape it and carve your entire face and eye out to look a certain way, like with the heavy cut creases. And when I mean heavy, I mean like the product just looks heavy. Like there's so much concealer on there that you can see all this texture, and you can tell they've gone in like face tuned it to get rid of all the texture. Cleaned up lines, all that kind of stuff. I'm just tired of that look. I'm tired of that old school like Instagram early 2010s look, like 2014 and 2015 makeup styles. Don't get me wrong, I think a cut crease is a great tool and great placement. It's just a certain way of doing it that's just like, can we stop with that, to where it looks like a stamp in a stencil and it's not even flowing with the eye shape that the person has, and it just looks very weird in real life. It looks cool in like a up close picture, but when you see it, the whole thing in motion, it just looks very mask-like and bizarre and unnatural. Not that makeup ideally necessarily looks natural. It's just a certain vibe, and I'm like, ugh. Number 8, who are some of your favorite makeup artists? Pat McGrath, I think, do we even need to say? Okay, I'm gonna take Cinnamon Girl right here. This is a lighter, more cinnamony kind of shade. It's like a duochrome with a light red to gold shift, kind of a peachy shift in there. It's very pretty. And I'm gonna take that kind of on the center of the lid right here. Other favorite makeup artists, Linda Hallberg too, Jamie Genevieve, I think, duh. Kevin Aucoin. Can we, like, is there any way to do a video like this without mentioning Kevin Aucoin? I don't think so. And recently, I have just fallen in love with Hung Van Gogh. His videos are so relaxing and so lovely to watch. I want him to do skincare on me, just the skincare. I want to have my face massaged the way he massages faces. They're so lovely to watch, and I've actually have learned a few tricks from him and, you know, picked up some things, and so I love that. I loved watching somebody that I can learn from. Lisa Eldridge. I absolutely adore Lisa Eldridge. She's very, like, inspirational just as a person to me too. All right, and now let's jump back to our Wild West palette. Do you have any favorite editorial or avant-garde looks? That's question number 9. I'll pop some on the screen because I can't think of them offhand to describe them to you, but I know I have some on Pinterest that I have pinned. And I'm gonna take the shade Hold'em, which is the gold and the Wild West palette. I'm gonna put down the inner corner. I decided to go with like these kind of colors because they fit my aesthetic pretty well. They're shades that I like a lot. I love gold eyeshadow. I love warm eyeshadow. Black and gold's kind of a standard for me. But I've done, I think, a few black and gold looks on here, so I didn't want to do that again. And these kind of colors really do fit my aesthetic pretty well. Love warm brown, blown out, grungy, smoky eyes. I'm letting that flow into Cinnamon Girl. I kind of want to do something, you know, that fits my current aesthetic pretty well. You know, and just something that is a little bit classic for me to do, which would be a look like this. I'm jumping back in with a little bit more Piretta. Piretta Blaze is a good song by Type Negative, by the way. It's one of those, it's very catchy. Kind of get stuck in your head. So let's go ahead and pop on a little bit of black liner here. I'm just going to take this one from Sigma. This is the Wicked Jaw Liner Pencil. Okay. And I'm just going to run that right at the lashes. I'm not into like a lot of heavy liner these days, so that's another. I keep meaning to start looks out with the eyeliner like Hung Van Gogh, and I just forget to do it. I'm like, dang it, I should have done the liner first. I wanted to try when doing a smoky eye like him because I have not done that technique before. And it looks so beautiful when he does it. I kind of want to pull in a little bit more of that I read a shade. I really liked it. Yeah, I feel like the Wild West palette and this palette aesthetically do suit me. This is based on Typo Negative, and that's very iconic in the kind of rock and roll goth scene is Typo Negative, and that's music that I really enjoy from that era, early 90s scene. And then there's also, the Wild West vibes that I really like. Like, think of bands like Fields and Nephilim and The Cult, and that's just kind of the look I'd go for, like Sisters of Mercy. Okay, so I'm going to do the rest of my face real quick, my complexion, and lashes, touch up brows, all that side of things, and we'll be back to finish up these questions and do the lower lash line and final touches. Alright, and we're back. I did the complexion and all that, popped some half lashes on and some mascara, touched up the brows, and sorted out this mop on my head and kind of got a little bit of a something going here. Some Farrah Fawcett vibes. And girl, I ain't mad at that. Tucked behind my ear a little so we could finish up. So yeah, I just did some half lashes. I used the Alexis lashes from Shop Miss A, and I trimmed them down to about 1/4 of their normal size and popped them on the outer corners, and that's what we have done on the eyes. And while I was doing my complexion, I forgot to mention a product that is definitely something that would definitely fit into the question number 5, which is the 5 products that define your style. Hollywood Flawless Filter from Charlotte Tilbury would definitely be a product that I needed to include in that little category, and I just kind of forgot because it was over my little basket next to me. Okay, so let's finish up these eyes real quick and keep on going with our little tag here. I think I'm going to go straight into Whiskey from the Wild West palette. And our next question is, I think it was our last question. What is your favorite time period for makeup and least favorite? Honestly, I think my favorites would be, it's going to be kind of a toss-up between the 80s and now. I think we're in kind of a golden era of makeup currently. And, with the way we can just really express ourselves with makeup, I'm just taking Whiskey like right here under the lower lash line. The self-expression we have now with makeup, and it's so accepted that, I can go to Target in a full beat, like with that wild cut crease I was talking about, and nobody looks twice at you. They're like, oh, cool, nice makeup. Like, nobody looks at you and think, oh. It's just very accepted and much more commonplace to be very expressive with the makeup and go there with it and just have fun. Nobody's really judgy about it anymore. 9 times out of 10, if I leave the house in like a full beat glam, I get compliments. I don't get weird stares. Whereas like when I was in high school, I've gotten weird stares, even if it was just like nice makeup and not full goth makeup. I mean, I got a lot of stares in high school, but you should have seen me in those days. And the product technology that we have right now is so good. Products are just so beautiful. You can get such high quality products at such a great price point now. Whereas I think, a few years ago in early 2000s, if you wanted those fun products, you had to go to like Urban Decay and MAC to get them. And now you can just go to Walgreens and find amazing stuff for such great price points. Then you kind of can't beat that. All right, let's take a little ghost town, and just the creative expression that I think we have now, especially with internet culture, with Instagram and stuff, making these things way more accepted, and you can see such a big, beautiful world of makeup on there, and all these different styles from so many different people, and there's no just one trend anymore. There's a million different trends going on, and it's such a freeing community. I feel like these days, as far as artistic expression goes, you can, do minimal makeup and still be amazing, and then do, the really avant-garde makeup and it just be considered just as beautiful. The modern day, though, is a golden era in makeup as far as the products go and that creative freedom and acceptance within the community. And I know there's a lot of work to be done as far as the acceptance side goes. There's still always going to be bullshit, and there's still, a battle there, of course, but looking back at 10 years ago, it's come such a long way, and I have a very hopeful feeling for the future that's going to only get better from here as far as seeing such a spectrum of beauty across the board. I'm taking a little bit of October Rust. It's really special, and I feel like, drama aside and that kind of side of the beauty community, which is every community has that. If you can look past it and look at the joy in the people who do makeup just because they love makeup, you'll see a lovely community there. And another era that I think is underrated with makeup would be the 80s. So that's why I'm going to say they're a little bit of a tie of two favorite eras, because in the 80s, that's when I think the self-expression with makeup took hold and people started doing more avant-garde, fun makeup, and it became a little more commonplace to do and more accepted. Like, look at glam 80s metal, for example, like hair metal. Look at those dudes up there with the beautiful liner and blended contour and everything else. It was incredible, and it opened doors for so many people to be able to express themselves, and the colors and everything was so vibrant and just fun. And yeah, there were some bad trends in the 80s and there's bad trends in any era. Like, we can pick apart stuff now that we think suck. And I tell you what, though, if you were in the 80s and you were wearing that frosty brown lipstick, you thought you were hot shit and nobody could tell you nothing. That's just how it goes. And I bet you money that we're going to look back in another 10 years at what we're doing now and be like, oh God, we did our brows like that or something. That's just the way it goes. But I think there was a self-expression in the 80s that was discovered, and a lot of subcultures were born within that time that were becoming a little more mainstream and out there, to where some kid growing up in Indiana could listen to Motley Crue or listen to Duran Duran and Flock of Seagulls and all these things and see this new wave style and crazy outfits and look at somebody like Prince and just be so inspired and see somebody expressing themselves in such a cool way with fashion and makeup that they may have never seen before. And it's like MTV, that came into everyone's homes in that era. And I think it created a market for self-expression more so, and to become a little bit more accepted. And I think it's just progressed from there and to where we're here today, where everyone has access to this big, beautiful world that we live in, as far as, you know, the creativity goes, and we can just appreciate one another's beauty on a whole now, and everyone's skills and talents with different types of makeup and what makes them happy. And it's just beautiful. It really is. I think that really did kind of begin in the 80s with the invention of like music television and music videos being in everyone's home in the Midwest and in the South and everywhere else in between. It wasn't just so isolated to big cities where there was a community. You got a glimpse of that community. Like, I grew up, you know, in the middle of nowhere, like a very kind of mid-sized town in the center of Louisiana. Like, we didn't have any scenes here. Like, we still don't have a scenes of anything. It's just not that kind of place. Unless you like to go riding ATVs in the mud, that's about the only scene we got. And but like getting to see these things when I was a kid on TV was like, oh yeah, there's this glamorous world out there I'm going to be a part of one day. And to still be able to live where I live and still have that kind of small town life, but still have that kind of glamorous lifestyle and be a part of this bigger world here on the internet. It's really cool, and I still feel connected to these different, like, you know, a gothic subculture or whatever, but I'm still just me over here with like a couple of friends, you know? It's a really interesting time we live in as far as that goes, and everyone's so globally connected. It's fun, and I think that is going to be, and I think there's a beautiful future ahead of us as far as that goes. All right, let's take a little bit hold on this inner corner. But I feel like just in the 80s, things got kicked off as far as just ultimate glamour and style, and editorial looks were just much more all over the place in fashion magazines. It wasn't, things were a little less restrained. Stuff kind of left the runway and became a little bit more accessible for the average person during that time, and has only continued along that path. Now let's do a little bronzer. I'm going to bronze with, since we're using things that fit my aesthetic, I'm going to use Queen Bee from Melt for my bronzer, because I just think this is the most beautiful product ever. Mine's been worn down, but you know. I'm going to take a little bit of this on my little fluffy brush here, though, just initially, and kind of blend right out here. And you could probably tell a little bit by my makeup style sometimes that I am heavily inspired by like kind of 80s, early 90s techniques. Because I mean, that's the era I was born in, and I I think was very influential on me because I watched a lot of MTV and VH1 as a kid. Like, that's all I watched. My mom would have it on, and my brother, and that was just every day. I watched, you know, Headbangers Ball and Behind the Music and all these shows, and definitely impacted my way I think and style. And it still does. Like, it's just seeped into my brain. It's become part of who I am. But I like to pull inspiration from those eras, but up in an updated, modern take. And that's why I would definitely think my style can be a little bit vintage, but with a modern kind of new twist on things. But, you know, I would really like describing my makeup style as soft gothic glam or soft grunge glam. Either way you would want to describe it. Overall, aesthetically, I would say my style is that of a vampire who just a vampire in the Wild West. Maybe that's my style, or kind of New Orleans, early 90s style. I don't know if any of that makes sense to you, but it makes sense to me in my little head. Very kind of Southern Gothic, Western Gothic type of thing. Not a lot like corsets, and like there's a Victorian inspiration in it, but there's also this more unisex inspiration in there, like just kind of menswear, I guess you would call it, inspiration, with like just button downs and jeans. I like to wear like cowboy boots, like black cowboy boots. Yeah, a good button down and belts. Very accessorized. There's something very simple about the outfit itself, but the accessories kind of pull it together. Alright, I'm taking Buzz now. Buzzkill is my blush from Melt. Nice peachy pink blush. Pretty high placement here. And of course, like combat boots always are a look, a staple in my wardrobe. A little bit 90s, I guess you could say, a little bit grunge, because that's, again, a style I grew up with. But I don't think my style is necessarily ultra like feminine or anything. It's always been veering on the androgynous side. But then I'm like super glam with the makeup. As far as clothing goes, I've always kind of kept it a little simple. I like good staple things now. Like, I mean, you can't beat it, just a good black button down and some jeans. It's good black jeans. It's like nice high-waisted ones. I'm gonna take a little bit of the highlighty side, the lighter side here. Just graze that around. I love a good black cowboy hat or just flat brim kind of preacher man hat. Love that vibe. I like to look like somebody who, a lone cowboy in the desert. I guess you could, a villain in a Western. That's my style inspiration, a villain in a Western movie. Alright, let's do some highlighter. What do we want to do for highlighter? I guess, you know what, we're just gonna go with the Jaclyn Hill one because it's right here on front, on top. I'm gonna put a little bit of this on the inner corner. I love a good teeny tiny brush. I got shrimp eyes. It helps to have little small brushes. I hardly ever use like fan brushes this size. They're just like tiny. This one's quite nice. I just feel like it doesn't do enough. I'm impatient. Alright, and let's finish this off with some lips. To use. Okay, yeah. I think I'm gonna go with Fuego from ColourPop Ultra Matte Lippy. It's just a favorite shade. And I think I'm gonna line my lips first with a little bit of the Vive lip liner in Bark. Yeah, let me know below though what you think is your favorite makeup era and why. I'm curious about that. I think every era has its high points and its benefits, like pros and cons, whether it be socially or aesthetically. And I think that, you know, what we do aesthetically always kind of plays into the social sphere and the culture sphere and into the political world. It all kind of blends together because it builds, a world all builds, you know, progressively at the same time. And a little bit each aspect of life bleeds into the other. Let's take a little bit of Lifter Gloss and Amber here in the center. All right, my bee fell off my necklace and it is in my bra somewhere, so I gotta find that later. Hopefully it doesn't fall into the abyss under my desk that is the dog bed, because that dog bed just eats things. I don't know, lids, brushes. I have to shake it out every now and then to find stuff. Okay, but anyways, I think this is our finished look and the end of my aesthetic tag, which was created by Elle S, by the way, and I'll have these questions copied into the description box if you want to answer them in the comments or do a video yourself. I would love to hear your answers because it's just fun to do, and I feel like it's a nice way to get to know each other, is talk about like our personal style and our aesthetic and what influences us and what what has made us the way we are. Honestly, overall, I would have to say music culture is my biggest influence in everything, particularly 80s goth scene, early 90s. Yeah, that's probably my biggest style influence. And yeah, anyways, I will see you guys in the next one. Y'all stay safe and stay spooky. Bye now.